Hello, everybody. Welcome to Berry Connected. It's where we share about all kinds of things related to bariatric surgery. And today we're being joined by Rich Eaton, Chef Rich Eaton. Say hello, Rich.
Hi, how are you all?
You know, I had the very incredible pleasure of meeting a mutual friend, Tanya Spangle, and Rich is just a blessing. Like I have got to learn a little bit about him, and I'm so excited to have him as a guest today. He's going to be talking about his story and talking about his life. And he's a seasoned chef and a food safety instructor with over 45 years of experience. He had struggled with morbid obesity himself and had some health issues and decided that at one point when he was 575, he decided that it was time to make a change and he had gastric bypass surgery. And then in 2021, he underwent plastic surgery, abdominoplasty, and became a certified nutrition coach. And he has so much to share with all of this. Rich, there's so much more that I could say, but at this point, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you.
Mhm.
And I'm going to mute myself for just a second because I'm going to be checking on our Facebook friends here as they join. I also want to invite anybody that is on our live event today, whether you're on a Zoom webinar or you're on Facebook, please say hi. Let us know where you're from. And if you've had weight loss surgery, if you're pre-op, post-op, anything you want to share. So, Rich, you just go for it here. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. Well, as Brenda said, I started out my journey in weight loss at 575, but we don't know that exactly. We say 575 because when I went to the doctor, that's as high as the scale would go. It actually read error. That's what the scale said. So it was above 575, probably more in the 600-pound range. I had been dieting myself for a while before I went to the doctor. And luckily, the doctor I had at the time was very much into weight loss and into ways to try to lose weight. And she suggested that we try some medication and we work on maybe getting into some possibility of surgery. I had struggled my whole life. I had been overweight as even as a child. My childhood doctor, used to call me Baby Buddha because I was overweight. When I was born, my mom died very shortly after I was born. I was 6 months old. I went to live with family because my dad worked and my grandparents worked, and so I went to live with my aunt and uncle, and they had three teenage daughters who could help take care of me. Unfortunately, my dad struggled with my mom dying, and I think there was some guilt in there because there was some issues um, going on with him and how she died. She needed some surgery, and he chose not to have that done. And he went to alcohol and became an alcoholic. Um, he remarried and had a daughter, and they divorced. And he got into another relationship and remarried again when I was 6 years old. But during all this time, I hadn't lived with him. I actually didn't really get to know him or live with him until I was 6 years old when he'd remarried for the second time. I went to live with him. They had a son, and then 3 years later had another daughter. So I have a step sibling from a second marriage who I didn't meet until much later in life, and then I have two step siblings from a third marriage. Um, Unfortunately, the third marriage, the stepmother, um, it was an awkward situation in the fact that she had two children. I was the stepson. I was the oldest, 6 and 9 years older than the other two. And I very quickly turned into what you might want to call the Cinderella of the house. I was the housekeeper. I was the cook. I was the babysitter. I didn't live like a normal childhood where you would do after school sports, where you would do activities, anything like that. I didn't go to friends' houses very often. I didn't go anywhere. I babysat. I learned very, very soon how to clean a house, how to make beds, how to do laundry, how to do all those things. My parents both smoked, they both drank, they both went out to play bingo, they both did all kinds of other things. Didn't make a lot of money. The only one saving grace I did have is I had the aunt and uncle that had been raised with um until I was 6. So I used to go visit them often. And I think the food thing for me came in living at home. We didn't have a lot of money. And we also didn't have a lot of great food because money was being spent in other places. There was like, yeah, there was the drinking, there was the cigarettes, there was going out to play bingo, there was other things. We lived in not great houses. We didn't for many years, the three of us kids that lived at home slept in the same bedroom. We had separate beds, but we slept in the same bedroom. We often lived in 2-bedroom houses or trailers or whatever wherever we lived. So when I would go to visit my aunt and uncle or to the grandparents on the weekends, and there was good food or there was good meals, I would eat as much as I could because it felt like something I had that I couldn't normally have. Um, Oftentimes I wouldn't necessarily do that in front of people because I didn't want people to know that I didn't have those things. Not that I was starving, but it was good. It tasted good, so it made me feel good. So I would oftentimes, when people were in the living room watching TV, I would sneak to the kitchen and open the fridge and have leftovers. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I would get up in the middle of the night and go have those leftovers. Go to my grandparents' house. My grandmother, even my stepmother's mother, wonderful woman. She was an incredible chef, cook, baker. She made incredible foods, and I would sneak in their house at night, be doing the dishes after lunch or after dinner when we were at their house, and I would go in their fridge and eat and eat and eat. I think growing up, everything we do when it comes to activities growing up, whether it be a birthday party, Christmas, even a funeral, always revolves around food. So Christmas parties, birthday parties, get-togethers, family reunions, funerals, all revolve around emotions for us. So they revolve around happiness and sadness, and they all revolve around food, which kind of like to me made me associate food and feelings together. Like in order to be make happiness, I had to have food. In order to, when I was sad, I would eat food, and they would help those things. So living at home, I was often not feeling like I fit in. I remember very often when I would go to my aunt and uncle's house, I would be picked up at my house. We only lived 25 minutes apart, but I would be picked up in the car riding from my house to my uncle's house, going to their house on the weekends. I would sit looking out the window and I would watch the side of the road and I would try in my mind to memorize the trip because in my mind, even from 6 and 7 years old, my mind, I was going to run away and I would want to memorize that trip of how to get to their house. So when I ran away, I know how to get there, and I never did run away. But that was my mind. That was my escape. I always had that plan to do that, and there was never. I never was. Did I get hit? Yeah, yeah. Well, I got spanked. I mean, this I lived in the generation where you got spanked. But did I get beat? No, I didn't get beat. I didn't get. There was none of that stuff. But there was definite mental abuse. There was not a lot of physical abuse. There was no sexual abuse, but there was definite mental abuse. There was definite that sort of thing. There was a definite issue between my younger brother and sister and the way I was treated. Like I said, I didn't go to people's houses. I didn't have the friends that other people had. So that's the kind of upbringing I have, and the way food became like the secret happiness, the secret. It became like the thing that made me feel like I was happy in life. So that's what kind of like the where food became the issue for me. And at 17 years old, when I graduated high school, hit the road. I was gone the next day. I was gone. And I went back to my aunt and uncle's house. As soon as I was able to go, I went back to their house. They put me through college. They were my parents my whole life. They really were the ones that took care of me. Um, and and for many years after that, I didn't have anything to do with my biological father or my stepmother. And to me, I felt like that was the issue. I moved on in my life. I went to college. I was professional. I worked. I had a career. And I felt like I succeeded. The one thing I never conquered was the emotional baggage I had, which would allow me to shed the weight. So that's where I succeeded in life, but I never succeeded in the weight loss and the physical part of it. But I wish I was able to conquer that sooner, but I feel like the things I went through have made me what I am today. So though I wish I was able to conquer that sooner, it's like a two-edged sword. I'm glad I didn't, but I wish I had at the same time. So that's kind of the background of where I'm at.
Yeah, thanks for sharing from your heart because I know we kind of talked a little bit about that from, right before we kind of started this. And I I think a lot of times those huge life challenges that we have are almost kind of like part of our life mission because they're like what really pushes us. Like what would have ever inspired you to be a chef and to cook for people who've had weight loss surgery if you hadn't had a weight problem yourself? I mean, do you think that would have ever conspired? I don't know.
I don't know. I have no idea. I forgot to say I was telling Brenda earlier that for like I said for many years I had nothing to do with my family, and it wasn't until about 5 years ago my youngest sister, who is 9 years younger than I am, called me and said, "Dad has cancer. I think you should go see him." And I went to the hospital to see him, and immediately he tried to make excuses about why his kids don't come and see him. And I said, "I'm not here for that. I'll leave now if that's what we're going to get into. But I'm here to see you." And we moved on from that. And he died very shortly after that. And I think for me, part of that at that point in time, that's when I was able to really start my weight loss journey. And I started to like, I felt like that him and I settled things, and I moved on and started my weight loss journey. I told Brenda, ironically, I've moved on from that, but just recently, this past Friday evening, my stepmother just passed away. And I feel like, though I feel sad for my sister, who I'm very close to, um, I spent many years not knowing her. I didn't meet her children until her daughter and son were teenagers. And I feel bad for that. And I feel bad for her losing her mother. But I feel like that part of my life now is over. And I can complete my journey. I can complete moving on. Even though I've done my thing, I just feel like there's a stop sign now, and I can cross the road now. And so it's like this, it's like a moving on phase is ready to go.
So, Rich, you know, how do you think the experiences from your upbringing affect your relationship now with food? Maybe then and now. What would you say?
Well, then I very much used food as the first of all, I used food because I could cook and I love to cook. I used food as a way to other people's hearts. I used food as a way I could cook good food, and I would cook it for people and give things to people and cook food for people to get them, because I didn't feel like I was popular or people liked me. So I would make food for people as a way for people to like me and want to be around me and near me, because it was my way of getting love from people. Even though they wanted the food, they didn't want me. But it was a way of getting the interaction for people. Um, as far as for myself, I it was a way for me as an emotional thing. It was still, even as an adult, I was still getting up. I would get up in the morning, not eat breakfast, sometimes not eat lunch, sometimes not eat dinner until 8 o'clock at night. But from 8 o'clock at night until 2 o'clock in the morning, I was like eating constantly and going to the refrigerator and making, getting a bag of potato chips, making 3 sandwiches, grabbing 2 cans of soda, having cake, having this, having that, and just eating constantly. If something sad happened, you ate. If something happy happened, you ate. And anything happened, you ate. But to sit and eat a meal with people, I didn't eat anything more than anyone else did. It was always a hidden thing. It was always a hidden thing to hide those emotions, or to make yourself feel good. And it was when you were alone, because it's when you were alone you had to face your inner thoughts. When you were with people, you didn't have to face those inner thoughts. It's when you were alone. And I've always lived alone. I separated myself from the world. So, and I didn't grow up with a close bunch of friends, so I didn't have that. I have friends now, but I didn't have that then, so I was alone a lot.
It looks like there's several comments here. I'm going to kind of just bring up if
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah.
I think people are relating though to what you're saying. Emotions in food, story of my life, Linda says. And she also says, bless you for sharing story. She really appreciates, you sharing because it is humbling, like to be able to go back and it can be kind of painful to have to re-experience even a little bit of that whenever you're thinking about it. And Kathy says, it is becoming more and more evident through research that there is a huge mental component to weight issues. tame our emotions, but our emotional paradigms about life. I have experiences as I work with my coaching clients. It's not so much about the food, but more about the rest of our life. So yeah, I mean, those things that like little things that we don't even recognize, about maybe the eating. What do you think? You were talking about late night eating because I think a lot of people experience that. Do you have any ideas for yourself that why you would go all day and then, eat a lot at night? I'm just curious.
Well, I think for me and I think for probably for a lot of people during the day, your mind is busy. You're working, you're doing things, you have goals, you have things you have to do. So your mind is busy. At night, your mind is not. Things are done. Stores are closed, businesses are closed, things are done. So now your mind is working. And when your mind is working, your emotions are starting to think. Things are going on in your head. And when things go on in your head, you're trying to hide those things. So then that emotional eating comes in to try to take over. And so that's what happens to me. And I just want to eat and cover all those things up. I think there's a question in here that we talked about that makes me think this right now. It's with weight loss surgery, one of the things they make you do is go through the psychological part of, are you ready for this? And I think that is the most underrated thing that they get you ready for when it comes to weight loss surgery. The dietitian work is one thing, the surgery is one thing. They make sure you're ready for the diet. That's all great. But the mental part of this, they don't even touch the tip of the iceberg of what you're going to go through mentally with weight loss surgery. They don't. They might think they try, but that's I think where all the bariatric programs fail the most is with the mental part of what's going to happen to you when you start having weight loss surgery. The first, just losing that much weight so quickly, you don't even recognize your body anymore. You don't recognize your emotions. You don't recognize your feelings. Your mind takes so much longer to catch up to what's happening to you that it's just amazing. So I think if they could do anything to the programs for bariatric patients, it is to work on the mental more than the nutrition part of this. To me, the eating and the nutrition part of this has been a breeze. The mental part of this has almost broke me daily. And I think if you really look at the failures in bariatric surgery, it has nothing to do with the food. It has everything to do with the mindset that's happened. It's not food, it's mindset.
And that's why I think sometimes people, initially when they have weight loss surgery, there is some people that don't do as well as other people. Because, like, if it was just the surgery itself and you were just altering anatomy without any other components involved, you would think that everybody would have success. But unless you address all the underlying issues for the reason that you're overweight rather than just your stomach or your anatomy, you're 100% right. And then a lot of programs are starting to incorporate that more. I know many programs will do the evaluation, like a mental evaluation before surgery, because it's required for insurance purposes. Most insurances will not do surgery unless you have that piece. But do they do any pre-counseling? Do they do any post-counseling as, I don't want to say a requirement, but something that's really looked highly upon? Most of them don't. Like a lot of them will just do the pre-evaluation and then allow the patient, to decide that for themselves, which is fine, but it would be helpful to maybe have a little bit more encouragement or more support in that area. I do agree with you there. And Kathy also mentioned, she says, to Rich's point, when we are busy, we are not mindful. Our body may be screaming at us all day for nourishment, and we just don't hear or listen. Then by evening, we are so hungry we can't stop eating because the sympathetic nervous system is full flight mode to find food. I mean, that's a good point. I never thought about it really about what you were saying, Rich, about, you're busy doing a lot of other things and you don't think about it until that evening. My husband does this a lot too. He's kind of a night eater. He can go all day long and not eat anything and then all at once be like really, really hungry. Um, so I love this point. Let me ask you this. I'm curious too. So you kind of talked about the weight loss surgery. Tell us, what was the determining point to get you to that, of making that decision, and a little bit more about your story about your actual weight loss surgery itself?
So, well, the first thing I did with my doctor, I mentioned that she's very pro weight loss. She's actually on the board in the state of Maine, where I'm from. She was on the board of obesity in the state of Maine for working with obese patients. Super nice lady. Um, so we started with weight loss medications. We started there, and we were seeing some progress. But she was concerned that the amount of weight I had, weight loss medications weren't going to move fast enough to keep me engaged to lose enough weight that was gonna work fast enough before I would basically kind of fall off the wagon, kind of thing. In order and get the counseling I needed and do the mindset and all those things. So she was afraid that I needed much more of a jump start. Not to mention, had moved into a diabetic state. I had sleep apnea. I had back pain. My knees were very painful. I couldn't walk on my feet for the first 30 or 40 minutes when I got up every day. My feet hurt so bad. I had slept in a recliner for 2.5 to 3 years, so I couldn't lay down. There were many, many things. I hadn't bought clothes in a store for I don't know how long because I was wearing a size 8 to 9X shirt. I wore only sweatpants. I couldn't buy shoes because they were like quadruple X 15 something or other because everything was kind of like falling apart at me at the time. So she felt like we needed to do something and we needed to do something quickly. So she set up the appointment for weight loss for the program. I went to the program and I walked in the room and there were like 75 people in this room for this session where you go in and they just talk about with everybody. So when I went to the program, I'm thinking, oh, there's so many people. I'm never going to get in to get my first appointment. So about a week later, they called me for my first appointment. And of those 75 people that were in that first room, when I went to my first appointment, half of them were already gone. They were already not following through with what was happening. By the time I had surgery, out of those first 75 people that I had was in the room, only 2 of us had surgery. That's all the people that actually followed through the program. Because with us, you had to go through 6 months of the counseling with the counselor. You had to go through with your dietitian, and you had to do it consistently. So if you missed an appointment, you had to start over. No, you had to do it consistently. Only 2 of us out of the 75 actually made it to the end of that. Now, part of what happened also during this, and I almost didn't make it. I mean, right now, because surgery was scheduled to happen, I was on my liquid diet. Now, luckily, the one I was on only required a 1-week liquid diet. But I was on the liquid diet, day 4 of liquid diet, and the surgery was canceled because COVID. It got rescheduled for a month later, or 4 weeks later, 3 weeks later. I was on day 3 of liquid diet. It got canceled again. This went 4 times. This happened while I was on liquid diet, and it got canceled. Finally, they said, do you mind switching hospitals? The surgeon you chose is in 2 different hospitals. My surgery was scheduled in the major hospital in Maine, but one of the minor hospitals close by, he also did surgery there. Would you mind having it there? And I said, no, I don't mind. And they did it. I went in, I had the surgery done. I was up walking around within 2 hours. I was home the next day. I like to think I'm pretty resilient to pain, so that wasn't an issue for me. I was up walking. I think the saving grace for me with this was the mindset change at the same time. Now, the way this happened for me is my job. I worked in a restaurant, so during when COVID happened, restaurants got closed down into takeout only with COVID. Now, the government allowed restaurants to get like government funding during COVID, but if you were a new restaurant that had only been open for under a year, you couldn't get government funding. Well, the restaurant that I ran had just been built, so they couldn't get any government funding, so it closed completely. I lost my job, and I lost my job 14 days before surgery. Luckily, I was able to use my Cobra insurance, and they still covered my surgery, so that worked out. The best part about this is with getting the surgery is at the same time I had been watching this guy on Facebook. He was doing a push-up challenge. He was doing 100 push-ups a day every single day for 30 days and getting stronger. He ran a gym, a local gym in the area. He's 26 years old. He had started the gym when he was 16. His mom and sister were overweight, and he started the gym to help them. Um, he had been running the gym ever since, and he now was 26. He was doing the push-up challenge, but he also was doing a contest for a 12-week personal training with his gym. Now you'd have to be the gym itself wasn't open, but the personal training with masks and everything, they could do that. So in order to do this, you had to write a thing and do a video and send it all in. And I hate pictures of myself. I hate videos, whatever. So walking my dog one day down the road, after right before surgery, this was right before surgery, I was walking down into the cemetery. So walk down the road through the cemetery and back to my house again. And in the cemetery, I stopped to rest because I couldn't walk any further. And I sat down beside a gravestone on a bench, and I took the phone out and I videotaped this interview. And this interview is actually on my website somewhere, I believe. And I sent it in, sitting in a gravestone, by a gravestone in a cemetery. And I sent it in and I won the contest for 12 weeks of personal training. So I started the personal training the week before I had surgery. I had surgery on a Tuesday. That Friday, I was back in the gym again with the personal trainer. We only did was a walk, but right after surgery, I literally had personal training for 12 weeks and lost a lot of weight. I've never gone back. I've worked with that gym ever since. I'm still with them right now. This is my classroom right now I'm in. And they've encouraged me to become a nutrition coach. They've encouraged me to do what I do with recipes and with cookbooks and everything I've done, and I'm still with them to this day. So between the surgery, the change in lifestyle, the change, I gave up my career, I gave up everything. I don't have an income anymore. My income solely is based on what I do. I don't work for this gym. I work for myself. And it's solely based on the income I generate from what I do helping other people. But it was based on a doctor who was willing to stick her neck out and say, I think you need to do this. And based on a Facebook guy doing push-ups during lockdown. And that's kind of what those two things are kind of what, gave me the boost I needed to do this.
Oh, Rich, that's so inspiring. So I want to know more about like what you're talking about here about your desires to pursue a career in fitness and this cooking and your health and like what you're doing right now. You're serving other people, but what you're doing right now to offer people, to help people, um, and what that looks like. Did we freeze? I think we froze. Can you guys hear me? Let's see. I'm trying to figure out. Rich, I think we froze somehow. I can hear you, but Rich is frozen. Okay. Rich, if you can hear me, we'll have you go off and come back on. Maybe he intuitively knew what to do there. He's off, but hopefully he'll be right back. What are you guys thinking so far? This is amazing. His story is amazing. Um, Rich inspires me. I'm gonna have him talk about his cookbook that he just wrote. He's written so many books now, guys, which are gonna be showing you here in just a moment. I'm gonna kind of peek. And I'm looking at 8 books he's written now. They're on Amazon. He just got listed on the Amazon bestseller list. So we're going to be talking about that here in a moment. Janet says, how soon after surgery can a person start working out? Every program's a little different. I know the program that I was a coordinator for before recommended walking immediately after surgery, like getting up if you're able to the same day or the next day and walking around the room. That doesn't mean like walking a mile or anything like that. Just making sure your legs are moving. It helps decrease pain. But then probably about a month for more full activity,
Is it working?
sometimes 6 weeks. Yes, Rich, we can hear you. We can't see you quite yet, but we can hear you. Oh, there you
The
are.
power went out. the power went out really quick. I lost the internet.
We're glad you're back. Everybody's saying amazing story. They're excited to hear more. I was telling them about that you're also an author, and we were talking a little bit about that. But
Yeah,
continue on. So you were talking, oh, we're freezing again. I think you're back.
yeah, hope so.
Let's continue your story. So you were talking about um, about your fitness and your health and how you're fitting those things into a lifestyle now that you're actually helping other people and kind of making money from doing that. And that's what you're doing for your career now. So I want to know more about that.
So what we did was, like I said, I went through the 12-week training here, lost a lot of weight. The gym I was working with actually moved. So we moved from a smaller facility into a very large facility where we rented some space here. And in the facility was an upstairs. So there was a really big room upstairs. And it used to be like a break room, and it had a partial kitchen in it. And I said, oh, wouldn't it really be cool if we could like finish this kitchen off and I could teach, because I teach food safety as well. And I could like do some food safety classes there and teach some food safety classes. And Hunter, who owns the gym, said, yeah, we could do that. So we did. We finished off the kitchen and I taught some food safety classes. And then he said, well, you always take these recipes, and I always would make food for everyone while we were here. He said, you always take these recipes and you always make such good food, because I refuse to eat like cottage cheese and tuna fish every day. I want good food. So I believe that like I'm not going to eat just what I have to eat. I want delicious food. But so I would just say, well, if I just change the cheese, and if I just change the sauce, and if I just change these things a little bit, I can still have what I want and just make them a little bit healthier. So he says, what if we taught some cooking classes and taught other people how to do that? So we started doing that. And we would have 15 to 20 people twice a month. And we would charge them, $10 or $15, and they would come in and we would buy food and we'd teach them all, and we'd eat the food, and it was great. So we did that for a while. And it's hard to keep people coming on a regular basis. And it's, the facility wise. And we thought, well, what else could we do to do that? So we had all these recipes. I'd create these recipes and we'd print them out and give them to them. And then I was working with a couple of fitness coaches. I worked with Beth Baracco Fitness. She has an online fitness community. She has lots and lots of all over the world that she trains online. So she said, I'd love to be able to share some of these recipes with my coaches and their clients. So Hunter is a genius when it comes to computers. So he's like, well, we could put all these recipes into a portal that people could access and then have these recipes. So we started working on that, and ended up that I'd written 250 recipes that went into this portal, and people had access to it. And then it kind of worked out that Beth and Matt, who had a podcast called Cut the Crap with Beth and Matt, they kind of like bought into this recipe portal and used it for their Patreon for their podcast. And then their Patreon people were having access to this portal with recipes as well. And so that was working out well. And there was a little bit of money coming in from that. And we thought, well, what else could we do? Well, one day I was on TikTok, and I had, I think, 10 followers on TikTok. And I'm still not great about putting myself out there. I never have liked pictures of myself, never liked videos of myself. Getting a little bit better at that now, but I've never liked it in the past. So I decided to, I was on TikTok and I was just watching videos of someone, and I saw this woman making food. She was making a chaffle. I never heard of a chaffle before. I said, that sounds interesting. So I tried to make one, and and it was really good. So I kept watching a few more of her videos, and she had like 1 million followers on TikTok, a little over 1 million followers. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. So I wrote her a message on TikTok. I'm like, oh, your recipes sound so good. It'd be so cool if we did a cookbook together sometime. That would be so much fun. And she wrote back to me, I'd love to do that, she said. I'm like, oh, I can't believe you wrote back to me. And that was Transforming Teresa Marie. And so we did a cookbook together. And we did our first cookbook, and that was in April of last year. And we did a cookbook. So she was in California, I was in Maine, and we took pictures and we cropped them together, and we did the cookbook. And I did half the recipes, and she did half the recipes, and she sent them all to me, and then I did all the graphics, and we did a digital cookbook. And then people had a meltdown because it was a digital cookbook and they wanted a print cookbook. So then I took the cookbook and I put it on Amazon and I published it and let people get some copies of it there. And she had talked about how she had when she was a school teacher, she had fallen off her chair on the ground when she weighed over 600 pounds, and she couldn't get off the ground for quite some time. And she'd never been on the ground or gotten up off the ground since in 20 years. So I said to Hunter, wouldn't it be really cool if we could go to California and like and and help her do that, to get her on the ground and get her back up off the ground. So he's like, let's do it. So we made a plan. We're gonna go to California. So we made plan to go to California, and she messaged me and she said, well, the weekend you're coming out here, there's actually an event, obesity help event going on that weekend. And they've invited you guys to come to it if you want to come, which is where I met Brenda. So, and in the meantime, I had been talking to Tanya. I met Tanya on TikTok as well. And I messaged Tanya and said, Tanya, I'd love to do a TikTok with you. Do a cookbook with you as well. And she said, well, she'd think about it. And we talk about it more and whatever. So we went out and we met Teresa. And we ended up going to the event and meeting all these people and getting pictures of everyone and meeting Brenda and meeting Tanya. And we had an amazing time. And it hasn't been out yet, but we did take Teresa to the marina in Long Beach, and we did do her first ever workout video with her. We did get her on the ground by herself, and we did get her up off the ground by herself the first time ever in over 20 years. And so that's all video on video, and it has not been released to anyone ever yet. And so that's how we kind of get into it. And then came back home, and then Tanya and I got into getting her cookbook ready to go, and she did her waters and her coffees and some recipes, and I did some recipes, and we put it together, thinking, okay, well, we'll do a decent job in this cookbook, and we put it out there, and we launched the waiting list for the cookbook, and within 2 hours, the waiting list, which was just email addresses of people interested, within 2 hours had 12,000 people on the waiting list, and then within a week, it had 25,000 people on the waiting list. We launched it for sale, and it had sold 26,000 copies. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then it kept selling more. And then I put it on Amazon and got ready to go. And then it started selling and selling. And that was the 8th of December. I put it on Amazon. It's still selling over 100 copies a day. And I don't have an explanation for it, because these are easy recipes. These are easy ones. They're delicious. They're delicious recipes, but they're easy. I mean, a lot of this will be contributed to Tanya's following, because her upbeat personality, her bubbly upbeat personality. But also, it's not just that. It's like a lot of it also is, of course, when you get on Amazon, the more you sell, your ratings go up, and then people see that, and it kind of gets spread around. But it's been so much fun to watch it happen. So it's been an amazing time. And beyond all that, there's another series of books on there. So there's cookbooks. I have 2 cookbooks with Transforming Teresa Marie. I have a cookbook with Tanya, 2 cookbooks with Beth Farraco Fitness, and then I have a cookbook of my own, which is the digital book, which actually is free. If you go on there right now, there's a Kindle version on there for free on Amazon. You can download it for free. And then I have a book on there, which is an amazing book, which is a success in menu planning. It is an amazing book that tells you everything from how to weigh yourself, how to measure yourself, how to take pictures of yourself, how to menu plan, how to read a label on a recipe, on a jar to find out how to get all your macros off it. It tells you everything, how to store food, how to do everything. It's like an 80-page book of how to do this, how to manage life when it comes to weight loss. But then I also have a series of children's books. The story I just told you about me growing up is written in a book called Doodlebug, and it's about a little bug whose mom dies, and he goes to live with his family. And there's a series of that book, and then there's a story of me going to this little Doodlebug goes away with his friend Gunther, and he goes off and meets Coco the caterpillar, who is Teresa Marie, and it goes off to California. So the whole story of my travels, and it's a series of kids books because I believe that if we're really honest with this, most of our obesity issues start in our childhood. Of our real deep-seated obesity issues. I mean, people gain weight as adults, but our deep-seated obesity issues, I think a lot of this starts in our childhood. And I think if we can start young with people and making them see that, number one, there's differences in the world with people. There's differences out there. But number two, there are people out there like you. There are people out there like us all and there's hope for us all out there. So there's
Rich,
so
is
much
it
out there.
okay if I share? I'd love to go. I have it pulled up. I'd love to
Yeah.
share your Amazon page. And Kathy says she agrees about the childhood piece. Let me share my screen because I feel like people are going to want to check these out. Whoops. Here we go. And I'll copy this and I'll copy it and I'll put it in the chat box on both Facebook here and in the comment section of Zoom. If you're listening to our replay and you're not able to see, you're on one of our podcasts and only getting audio, the link will be available in the description. So you can go to that. But tell us, so let me pull up the first one, the book that we were just talking about. Now We're Cooking, and this is with Tanya Spangle.
Mhm.
This is your latest edition, correct?
That's our latest. This is actually the hardcover book. So this is not the latest edition. The latest edition says second edition on it. The hardcover book is bigger, so it didn't have the issues with printing. If you buy the softcover book, you want to make sure you're looking for the one that says second edition on it. So if you go to the softcover
Okay.
tab on that one, you would see that it just looks a little different.
Here, let's do that. So I'm going to go here and then go to paperback.
Yep.
Okay.
The paperback one says second edition right below all the things. If on the book itself is a second edition. Right there.
Okay.
Yep.
Right
Second
there.
edition. That's the
Okay.
one. It's just an improved quality on the paper and the printing.
Okay. Gotcha. Easier to read. Easier to
Yep.
read text, you're saying.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. And then let's go back here and I want you to tell us a little bit about some of these others that we have that are on that. So I'm just kind of reading back.
Well,
So,
the next two books, actually, it's not showing you all the books here, but the next two books, I just published a combined book. That's both those next two books are combined into one book. It's called
okay.
All the Things. It's called All the Things, and it's an advanced second edition, but I can't think of what it's exact, but it's not, they're not all listed there. So it doesn't show them all
Okay.
in there.
And
But
maybe it's
if you were
the link that I have. So maybe if
No,
I
it's not the link.
go
It's just
back,
they don't show them all in the profile. That's all because it's a new book. It just came out a couple days
gotcha.
ago. It takes several days to go in there. But if you were to look my name up, Chef Rich Eaton, it would show you could find them. But either one of
Okay,
those books are
gotcha.
available. Those are 9x11 books. But I did combine those two books together, so there's just more recipes in one
These
book.
two.
Yep. And then the next book you see there is my Ninja Creamy book. Those are all Ninja Creamy recipes. Those are all made with Premier Protein and Devotion Protein. So they're super high protein, Ninja Creamy recipes for ice cream. They're delicious, delicious recipes in there.
Oh, yum.
Yeah, they're good. Those are good ones.
And then we
And then
have,
that
oh,
is
we have Teresa.
that's Teresa's second Christmas book that just came out this Christmas. It's amazing, delicious Christmas recipes. A lot of recipes like there's some basics about like Christmas, some basic Christmas dinner ideas and some basic Christmas sides, but there's also a lot of what to do with Christmas leftovers. I've got some Christmas dinner chaffles, some Christmas dinner like baked potato side ideas, a lot of just how to use Christmas dinner leftovers to make soups and stews and all kinds of things in there.
Awesome. So Teresa is the one you were talking about Teresa is actually the one that introduced Rich and I.
Yep.
And she's the one that he was talking about going to the beach and being on the beach and basically being able to do like a little workout,
Yep.
correct?
Yes.
So, and Teresa was over 600 pounds too. She lost a tremendous
Exactly.
amount of weight. So just really inspiring. And then your doodle bug.
That's Doodlebug number one. That's the first Doodlebug right there. And there's three of them out right now, and the fourth one is in illustration right now.
Awesome. And then we have success in nutritional planning.
Meal.
Is this
That's
your
and that's
meal
that's the
planning?
that's the and that has everything from how to weigh yourself all the way through how to read nutrition labels, how to write a recipe, how to figure out a recipe, and figure out how the nutritional information in a whole recipe. It has everything in it.
Awesome. Okay, we're gonna go to the next one here, and then
And the last one, if you
um
look above that, that's the Kindle one that's free right now.
okay,
If you have a Kindle, you can go download that for free. It's only got 10 recipes in it. It's kind of like a sample, but it's got 10 recipes in it right now. Kindle, it's for free. You can try it out.
awesome. So just read for free. Click on it right here. I'm gonna go ahead and before I stop sharing and share the link, I'm also gonna go to your Reinventing Chef Rich, your website. Um, right
Yeah.
now, he is, tell us what you're getting ready to do. Because actually, before we get into that, let's go over here to your cooking ware, which is your online recipe sharing portal that we talked about earlier. So
Correct.
I don't want to confuse people. I'm going to share all of these links, guys. And if you're listening to the recording, it'll all be in the description. So go ahead.
So the cooking app portal, this is just a portal. This has over 250 recipes in it. They're all low calorie, high protein recipes that I've created or recreated from traditional home cooking recipes. This just typically costs $35 a month. It changes all the time. It is much discounted if you were to join this process. You can go in there, you log in, you can use these recipes anytime you want to. You can print them out, you can download them, you can do anything you want to with this. So this is like fitness coaches use this, but we're working on a process. We're going to actually transform this recipe into a private group soon so that like individual people will be able to have this, and we're going to be adding a lot of blog posts to this. We're going to be adding a lot of personal stories to this. So this is going to be evolving very quickly into something much, much more than it is right now, which is going to be amazing. So this is like
So right now
this is like a
it's a
virtual cookbook.
recipe. Right now it's a
It's a
recipe
recipe
blog.
portal. It's a recipe portal
Portal.
right now. Yep.
And do you add new stuff every month?
Every week.
Oh, every week. Oh, wow.
Every week.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And so what can people find on the portal? Like what would be just
Well,
right
there's
here at the top, it says lower calorie, high protein versions of recipes you grew up with.
Yep, that's exactly, and they're all categorized. They're categorized by type. So you have desserts, sides, entrees. They're also categorized by breads. They're also categorized by pork, beef, chicken. They're also categorized by high fiber. They're also categorized by lower calorie. They're categorized by speed. They're categorized in many, many, many different ways. They're also preloaded in MyFitnessPal and Lose It. So all you would do is type in now we're cooking triple berry trifle cake in now we're cooking. I mean in MyFitnessPal, and it would automatically come up in MyFitnessPal, so you could automatically track your calories that way. So it's a pretty ingenious little thing we've worked on here.
That's pretty cool to have the
Yeah.
connections with that.
Yep.
So I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to your website. I want you to talk a little bit about the surprise that you have coming. Are you prepared to do that yet?
So we have very soon. We have coming up in the next month or so. I'm working on a project where I'm going to be doing a Zoom meal prep class. What we're going to be doing is giving away, number one, we're going to be giving away a free to one person. They're going to get the meal prep class, number one. They're going to be getting a copy of my nutritional book, my nutritional planning book, a actual copy of that book in your hand. You're going to be getting a one-on-one coaching session with me on nutritional planning. So we're going to talk about your nutritional planning, like your actual planning, and what do you eat, and how can we make it easier and better for you to plan a menu weekly. And then we're going to actually have a Zoom class with many other people where we're going to talk about how to menu prep, how to meal prep, how to ingredient prep, what we're doing. So this is just a new project we're coming up with, and we're going to be adding into this and doing more of these kind of prepping Zoom classes coming up soon. So we're going to be giving away a private session with one person, and then there'll be a small cost for the Zoom class itself that you'll be able to get into and learn about some more of this prepping situation. If you scroll down, that video right there, that's the transformation video I was telling you about. That shows part of my original video that I originally made when I joined the gym, and my 600-pound video when I was in the cemetery. That's it
Oh,
right there.
so it has it on there. That's
Yeah,
awesome. This is going to give
yeah.
people real live look at
And
the
there's
before and
blogs on
after.
this website. There's blogs on there. There's not a lot yet. There'll be more added, but on my Facebook page there are lots of blogs where I write a lot of personal, just like personal things that happen to me, and personal things I experience. Things about the first time walking by a door at night. I walked by a glass door, and I looked in the door, and I thought someone was coming through the door, and I didn't know who it was. And I looked at the door, and it was me walking, and I didn't recognize myself. It's just these strange things. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the same things, but you always think you're alone until you talk to other people and realize we've all gone through these same things together, but we don't necessarily connect with people that have gone through them, so we won't recognize it.
Rich, let me ask you
Yeah.
this. Do you have an email list or anything like that where people can connect with you? And the reason why I ask is with your meal prep class coming up, is there a way for them to be able to find out when that
Yeah.
releases?
So there's somewhere on here, there's a contact me button. And I can't, it's at the bottom of one of these pages, but you can definitely contact us.
Okay. I'm gonna look here. Oh, looks like for sure on your
Yeah.
about page.
Yeah. And
Contact
then the
now.
other way also is on my Facebook page. You can definitely contact me on my Facebook page as well.
Okay. That is kind of the about page. Is actually just kind of going back.
It kind of goes back. Like I
So,
said, this page, my web people are still working on a couple of things on this page right now. My Facebook page, you can definitely go on there and contact. There's a
let's
bunch of
show your
pictures.
Facebook page. So in some of your other socials. And guys, I'm gonna copy the links here shortly, so bear with me. Here is that's us on the ProCare page. Here, let me go type in reinventing Chef Rich. Reinventing Chef Rich is your Facebook page.
Mhm.
Click onto that. And so you can always press the message button to message Rich if you're wanting to be on the wait list. Like his page so you'll see when he posts these new upcoming things, there's us. And then also his blog post and that type of thing. So he has lots of stuff. He's also on Instagram and TikTok. So if we click on Instagram, it's I gotta move my bar so I can read reinventing underscore chef underscore rich. So we have on there, and then we also have TikTok, which is reinventing underscore chef underscore rich. So we
And then
have
my link trees are
different
in both
avenues.
Instagram and TikTok. My link tree, and when it's time for that to come out in my link tree, you'll find the wait list will be in the link tree as well. Anything new in my link tree will be in there. Like cookbook links are always in there for selling cookbooks, things like that are always in my link tree.
Oh, I love that. Hey, we actually have we have a picture here of
Oh,
you.
that was my first day at the going to the gym, and my okay,
Noise.
taking that volume down. Good lord.
So we have a before and after picture here, which
Yep.
is pretty cool. We're on the Instagram page here.
Yep.
Or actually we're on the TikTok page. So
Yep.
fun ways to just find Rich. I'm gonna actually stop sharing my screen here for just a second and I'll copy those links so that everybody can see all those places we just went. Um, how about Rich, since we're getting kind of close to time, can you share with us some closing thoughts?
Well, I
Did
guess
I lose you?
it's the no. I'm just thinking though. The biggest thing I guess it's never too late to make a change. It's never too late to make a change, and no one can make the change for you. So when I say it's never too late to make a change, I don't care if you're 20 pounds overweight or 500 pounds overweight. It's never too late. I was probably over 600 pounds because like I said, I had been dieting when I went to the doctor's, and it was the big ERROR on the scale. You know how embarrassing that is to go to a doctor's office and in the hallway they weigh you and it says error, and then they tell me that it went up to 575 is as high as it went. And now when I go to the
Mm.
doctor's office, and the doctor's office, the nurse that I go to see in the doctor's office, her and her husband have now had weight loss surgery and buy my cookbooks because of my story.
Oh, I love that. You know, you never know. You bring up a great point. You never know how you're going to be influencing another person in what you share and just by being you. So, you know, be you. Be your amazing self because you never know who's watching or how it can affect other people.
Absolutely.
Kathy says, Amen, Rich. Um, and and you know, Rich, one other thing too, you're a male. You're a guy. There's not, you know, the statistics show there's not as many guys who have weight loss surgery. So you could be inspiring from that standpoint as well. And
It's funny you
just
bring that
because
up
of do you have
because
something else you want to share?
funny you bring that up because statistics also show that there are more men who are obese than there are women. Women. So why are there more women that have weight loss surgery than men? So I did a
Oh,
lot of research into this. I said, after I went to the obesity health thing, I said, why are there more women here than there are men? And I look at all these weight loss and bariatric surgery meetups, and they're always women. Why are there no? Why is this so? And I look it up, and the research shows it's because of the psychological evaluations. Because men don't want to or are not willing to give up and talk to these about their past. They don't want to open up to these people about them. So therefore they don't pass the test to have the surgeries because they won't follow through with the process. So
that's
that's issue
extremely
that's an issue
interesting.
too. That's an issue too. And it's like I want people to realize that number one, could it be done without surgery? It's possible. Could I have done it without surgery? I don't know. I don't know if I could have, if I, and even being a chef, even with having all the tools and the knowledge to be able to do it, I don't know if I could have gone that long to lose that much weight. I had to have that jump start. I had to have that fast initial push to do that. Even with all these great people I work with, even with working in a gym, I don't know if I could have done it. I
Well,
don't
it
know.
gives you hope because you can, I mean, number one, it's different than just a diet or it helps you. It gives you a tool to be able to eat less and to push your body to absorb less of the nutrients. You know, it works on your metabolism. So it helps. It gives us an extra boost. You're right. Um, and Kathy says, "Got to run." Thanks, Rich, for sharing. I do want to before we jump off. I am inspired to share about our sponsor. So I'm going to share here just for a second. I'm going to be sharing my screen, guys. You're going to see, first of all, I have a little thing. We're talking about men here. So I'm going to share a little bit about, um, we usually will promote something at the end of these events. And if there's somebody out there that's needing a way to track progress and remember important reminders, ProCare right now, who is our sponsor, is sponsoring a bariatric calendar, the Boys of Bariatrics. And Rich, I don't know if you've seen this yet or not. It's pretty
Yeah, I see
exciting.
it.
So basically, guys, if you go to the ProCare Health website, which is www.procarenow.com, you click on to products, and under products, there's a little tab that says extras. The calendar is now listed there. If you're buying it just by itself, it's $25. It should be pulling up here. My computer's a little slow today. Must be the technology issues. Boys of Bariatrics. It is pulled up. It's $25, but if you add it to your cart, press add to cart, and you have a total of $45 of products in your cart, you will get this calendar completely free. There's no charge. You have to type in you add it to your cart and you also have to type in the code section. There's a code section, CODE code for calendar, the word calendar, CALENDAR. And if you do that, have $45 in your cart, you can get this calendar for free. So that's a fun little thing. I also want to share while we're here on the ProCare side, if you guys want to continue to listen to episodes like this fun one with Rich over here under the Berry Connected tab. If you click onto that, I got to move I have my little Zoom thing open here, Berry Connected tab. And I'm just going to kind of go down. You're going to see this month's episodes. It takes it sometimes a second to pull up, but you'll see Rich on there. You can listen to the replay, guys. His episode will be on replay until the end of January of this month. We'll also be adding his episode to down below to our podcast and to our YouTube channel. Those will be added by next Tuesday. Will be available on iHeart, on Spotify, on all your major podcast stations. And then if you jump over to the YouTube channel, which is ProCare Health, vitamins and supplements, you'll see the replay there being listed. If you subscribe to our ProCare Health channel, you guys will get reminders of when new videos are added. And we have over 190 videos now on there. I also want to just say too, on that Berry Connected page, you'll see our new Facebook channel and Facebook group. We just added those links. And so we have a Berry Connect page. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Um, Basically, it's a page where we're listing all of our upcoming events and anything. And then we have a Berry Connected group, Facebook group, which we're also having here. And I want to say too, Rich, I will be adding, if you will continue to stay in touch, I'd love whenever your new um, cooking classes, your meal prep classes come out,
Sure.
let us know and we can definitely add that. Or if you want to add it, either way, we'd love to have you guys on this page. We just started this page about maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And it's fastly growing. It's such a great way to connect. And be around other people that have had bariatric surgery. So join us there, like our page, join our group, and that is everything. I'm going to stop sharing here for a moment. That is everything that I have. I just want to say, Cece says, thank you and wonderful information. Appreciate all of you guys for joining us. And Rich, I'm going to follow up with you by email. I just want to thank you for being our special guest and sharing your story. It's so inspiring. A couple times I got tearful. I don't know if you could tell that or not, but it just warms my heart to hear these inspiring stories like yours, because it just goes to show that people can, like, if regardless of what situation you're in right now, there's always room for change and hope and faith that things can be different.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. Have a great day, and regardless of where you are, may you all be blessed in this upcoming new year. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.